The second movement starts with the Charleston. It uses the progression of the song Charleston. And then it goes to the Argentinian tango, El Dia Que Me Quieras. And then after that, Happy Days Are Here Again. That's people out of the depression. They want to have a good time. And the third is where it starts to go into swing. Kansas City swing. Topsy is the underlying harmonic progression. And then Body and Soul for Coleman Hawkins. I put the saxophone and the cello because Hawk played the cello. And then Sing, Sing, Sing. It was a definitive anthem of the swing era. Louis Prima, my homeboy, New Orleans, wrote it, so can't get no better than that. And then the next movement, the fourth movement, is Dizzy, Things to Come, bebop. It's in that style. And then Mambo, a definitive style of that time. We use Mambo in Machito's orchestra recorded that. And the last section of that is a Benny Carter song, Bijou, and it features Sherman on the alto. And Benny conducted us, and we loved him. He contributed so much to the music. I always like to doff my hat to him whenever there's the possibility. As a matter of fact, his last arrangement, Again and Again, we play that all the time. It's a wistful ballad. I think he wrote it in 2000, or it could be maybe 2001. But it's a beautiful final statement by one of the great pioneers and unbelievable gentlemen in the music. And behind Whipper, because he was known to have to, if he had to handle some business, he could take care of what he had to do. Then the next movement, the fifth movement, starts with a fugue. It doesn't have an underlying progression. It's just the type of music they were trying to do in the 50s with Gunther Schuller and John Lewis and who else? With John Lewis and Gunther Schuller and George Russell. So it's a fugal theme that we didn't do improvisation like modern New Orleans improvisation on. Then we go into Mingus Goodbye Pork Pie Hat. It's the underlying harmony, features the bass section. And then is So What, the kind of progression that goes a modal tune and then upper half step. And then is the movement that's missing, which I'm going to base that on that Coleman song called Sadness, and then John Coltrane's. One of the Train's tunes with a groove on it. I haven't made up my mind yet. I think I was going to do it on Wise One. And then the last will be Won't You Come Home, Bill Bailey, but with like 20 different variations played on all different instruments so that it'll sound really cacophonous. There are a lot of things going on, because somebody told me in the 1960s, Duke Ellington would say, do y'all want to hear what music is going to sound like in the future? Then somebody will come up and play Won't You Come Home, Bill Bailey. So it's going to be that, but it won't sound like New Orleans music. And then I'll get to the seventh movement, which is now the sixth. And that's, first movement is just a groove. It's just all my own like progressions, and it's just purely the things we do, like with the bumping and the oscillating on chords and the kind of movement of the quarto harmony and the chants and the use of the blues and prepared piano and the violas plucking. There's not anything that's, if any era of jazz produced that. It's only our music and our style. And then we go to a kind of sanctified groove of the feeling of church music in a modern type of sense. And then to a wistful swing groove, which is a carryover from what Duke Ellington did at the end of Black, Brown, and Beige. It has the same type of optimism and wistfulness, but it uses the language we use now. And mainly it's because I'm about continuum at all times. I never question my originality. I don't really worry about it, and I feel that all of our music belongs to us, and we don't have to separate ourselves from it. And when we do, I feel we make a tremendous. It's a mistake. It's like not accepting an inheritance. It's foolish. So with this symphony, I'm trying to see what things do we have in our music that would work applied to the symphonic orchestra. So how can you play a two groove? How does the bass section sound swinging with a cymbal? Can one drum cymbal swing and be in balance with a whole section of basses swinging? Can you use the violas like you would use a viola part? I mean, like you would use a guitar part. Because in the classical era, the violas are they're playing quarter notes and eighth notes just like Freddie Green did. What part of how can I use the string section as a rhythm section? How do certain doublings sound? How can we make the swing and the feeling of the blues and all this? How can we put those in the forefront of the music instead of just using them as colors for another style of music from other countries? And how can I carry through on what the forefathers of these styles did, like George Gershwin, Leonard Bernstein, William Grant Still, all the people who work kind of in the orchestral jazz form. And in each movement, I set out to deal with the different techniques that were developed in that time and how they resonate in the modern era. For example, in the New Orleans music, I'll have the trumpet fanfare, like the sound of Buddy Bolden, or the bouncing Jelly Roll Morton bass line in ragtime, or the juxtaposition of the high and the low, or the use of ragtime syncopations in the tailgate trombone. In the slow drag, I have the high clarinet doubling the trumpets, like what they said they would do in Buddy Bolden's band. And the use of the wah-wah mutes near the end, the beginnings of train onomatopoeia, the use of the kind of pecking and the organization of the orchestra in the way that a band would be organized, a concert band. In the second movement, I use the singing trombone or the sweet, syrupy kind of violins with the contrapuntal underpinnings, like what you would hear in the type of romantic Latin music that was introduced. The singing trombone of Tommy Dorsey, the feeling of the trombones, like 76 trombones. Even though that's later, that music came later, it was still like a kind of feeling of the optimism of American music. The sophisticated saxophone section, like I used to think of that television show My Three Sons. It would have somebody tapping their feet, do 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 dee. They'd be playing real kind of 1920s saxophone, Frankie Trombauer, and that type of sound of the saxophone, and the saxophone doublings and flutes and playing all these different things. The use of the extension of ragtime syncopation, whereas the original ragtime syncopation we that kind of feeling. I take the long syncopation, which came boom 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 boom. So the end of that third movement is all doom doom. That also is a groove, this in the ostinato groove that they use in tango music a lot. Doom, 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 the habanero rhythm. Also, we use that in New Orleans. So I try to draw those parallels.